Okay, here we go. So we're recording. So like I was saying, I just basically want to go over some of the tools that we have at FIT that that you can utilize or leverage to create discussions in your face-to-face or in your online class. And then I also want to talk about how you can gamify some of these discussions just to incentivize students and just to make it a little bit more fun so that students can um, get, there's some motivation to the whole discussion process. And then I have a couple of demos. I'm going to show some examples of uh, some of these discussions, and then I can, if we have time, I can go through them and we can create some of them together. So I can show you how you can actually create these on your own. And then I will have time, a little time after after three, if anyone wants to stay behind and talk a little bit about how I can, how we can create these. And like in all my workshops, I don't want to be the only person talking. So if you want to jump in and say something or share, we will be happy to hear ideas and anything that you would like to share with the group. So I'm not the only person talking. I don't want to be the only person talking. So let me start with sharing the screen so I can um, so we can start. Um, and if you're not familiar with gamification, I know it's a word that carries a lot of, I don't want to say baggage, but it can mean many things in gamification. But basically is it's exactly what it means. Is like uh, implementing the game mechanics into either your teaching or discussions or anything. You can actually implement gamification to any of those things. Um, but we're going to cover a little bit of that too today. So don't worry, we'll talk about that in a second. So the three tools that I want to cover today for creating discussions. The first one is Blackboard Discussions, which is, let me go to Blackboard real quick. As you all know, you can find it right here in the in Blackboard. You can go to discussions, and this is the most basic, right? This will be something very straightforward, right? In most cases, faculty like to use these for simple questions, just simple discussion prompts, and then have the students go into the thread, and then you might say to them, well, I need one post and maybe two replies to others, to your fellow classmates. That's what normally happens. And this again is very basic. There's not a way for students to record video responses. This is basically text, right? So text responses. And so as we're going through all the three tools that we're going to cover today, I'm going to explain the pros and the cons to each one. Um, with the Blackboard discussion, what's really great about this is just it's already embedded within Blackboard. So you're not working with a new tool. This is already all inside Blackboard, right? So you can just go in here, go to discussions, open it up, and create a discussion thread, like an icebreaker. And then the students can come in there and then just post. The good things about using discussion board in Blackboard is that this is integrated into the gradebook, and this is one of the things that we're going to talk about as we compare all three tools. This is a great feature because then you can just go in there and give a student a grade. Look at their post, and right then and there you can give the student a grade, and that grade automatically gets pushed into the gradebook. That's great, right? That's an awesome feature to have. Um, also,
And then also you can have that averaged of how many discussion boards you have too, which is a really nice feature.
oh yes, yes, like you mean like let's say like if you say I have one post and then I want you to do two replies, Blackboard will not allow you to grade that student until until they complete, right? That's what you're saying, Patricia? Like
No, but
they have.
that's another thing too, is that they have to do their own work, and they can't just copy from somebody else. They've got to give
Oh,
theirs. But
yeah.
in my case, it's a totally asynchronous class, so I have 8 discussion boards, and and each of them they're equal weight, and so that I can just the Blackboard will average that, and also even do a percentage of it's 40% of the grade. So then it'll give me that as well.
Yeah, that's a great point you make, and that's a great point you make, Patricia. That's like moderate, and we'll see that feature in the 3 tools that we'll talk about today. And moderate is a great feature to have because, like Patricia said, a lot of these students sometimes will go into the discussion board. They'll wait until someone else posts, and then they'll read it, and then they'll just either copy or get the answer from the other posts, and then they would just put their post based on what they read and from other students, right? So that's very interesting. That's a very important thing to know. You can do that in Blackboard discussions, where you can say that they cannot read the other students' posts until they do their own initial post. So that's another thing I think about, right? If that's something that's important to you, that you don't want them to copy other posts. One setback that I don't like about Blackboard discussions is the fact that you can't create teams. That's I mean you could, but there's not a mechanism in place for you to move people into teams. And then I mean you could do it, but you have to do it through the groups. And it's a little bit cumbersome, but I wish that feature was already in the discussion board, but it's not. And I hope that when we move over to Brightspace, that might be something that they'll have in Brightspace, which is creating teams for discussions. Um, but that's pretty much it for Blackboard discussions. Very straightforward, right? It's heavy. It'll be just text based, and like Patricia said, you can moderate. You can grade directly from here, and also it will keep track of the students if they've done those the initial polls and 2 replies. Then it will alert you. Hey, this person has completed all the requirements, and now you can go ahead and grade the student instead of you having to go and chase those students. So then, any questions before we leave Blackboard discussions, or any comments or ideas? No? All right. So the next tool I want to cover is VoiceThread. And Patricia, I know you use VoiceThread, right, on your course?
Yes, I do. But
Okay.
I do it more as just a lecture, and
Uh-huh.
I've been trying to figure out how I would do it as interactive, and still have the critical thinking, showing research, that kind of thing element. It's nice if it's just some kind of conversational flow, some kind of banter, but
Hmm.
I'd love to hear if anybody has any suggestions on how to do it as more of a a critical thinking. Yeah, because instead of using all these discussion boards in written form, to have something where it provides a little bit more uh, um, 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 difference, that they can do one at least orally.
Right.
But I
Right.
don't know how to grade that and put that into the mix.
Sure. Sure.
If I'm explaining that. Am I-
No, that's a great thing you bring that up, Patricia, because this example that I'm going to show you next, this is coming from a professor at FIT. Oh, I think I have echo here. Oh, it went away. Okay, so this is a professor, Professor Wong, Lorenzo Wong. She allowed me to go into her course, and I worked with her quite a bit, and she was able. She said that's okay. I can show her her discussion, and this is a little bit what Patricia just described. It's a lecture type voice thread, and then at the end she has a discussion slide that's based off the lecture. So let me show you real quick how it looks like. Oh, actually, that's at the end. So let me go to the beginning. So as you can tell, this is VoiceThread, and there's 23 slides in here. So it's about, yeah, total 23 slides, as you can see here at the top. And these slides are actually lecture slides. Not all of them have her voiceover, as you can see. This one doesn't have a voiceover, but this one does, right? So this slide has a voiceover. So that's important to know, that you don't have to record your voiceover on every slide. Only on the slides that actually you feel need your voice to explain the slide. And so as a student goes through the lecture slides and listens to the professor, when the student gets to the end of the slide deck, this is now the discussion part. And so what you're having here is a combination of lecturing and then also the discussions all built together as one, um, one, in one, it could be done in one sitting, right? So the student can sit down, go through the lecture, and even if they have to take a break and come back, VoiceThread remembers where the student left off, and they can pick up where they left off. And then here, now she has a discussion prompt that is based on the lectures that we just went through real quickly, right? And like Patricia just said, what is different between VoiceThread and Blackboard, just like the name implies, VoiceThread. VoiceThread allows students to record their post. It allows to record their voice, so they can record their voice as a discussion, as a post to the discussion. So on the left-hand side here, these are students who have responded to the discussion prompt. And one of the things that we talked about earlier was, I think Patricia, you mentioned it, to moderate, right? So if you don't want if you don't want the student to listen to someone else's post, they have to record their post first before being given access to hear everyone else's post. You can do that as well here in VoiceThread, just like in Blackboard Discussion that we talked about, that maybe you don't want your students to read the posts, and they're forced to record their discussion. Then they get access to the posts from everyone else. So that's also here in VoiceThread. The other thing that you get with VoiceThread is that this is integrated into Blackboard. And so that what that means is, if a student does the initial post and the two replies, you'll get alerted, okay, this student has done everything, has done the initial post, has replied twice. You need to give the student a grade. And so then you go to the student's name, and then when you click on the student's name, then you get all the posts, the initial post, and all the replies for you to give that student a grade. Okay.
Do you want me
Uh-huh.
to speak to that or not?
Sure, go ahead. Do you want to go ahead and
What I have is it's a very formal use of discussion boards, that they have to cite sources of where they got their information from, and they have a certain amount of paragraphs to do it, and a certain amount of citing of sources. And okay, so their initial prompt, I call it an IR, initial response, and then I don't know any other way of doing it. So that's what I do is just put a 1 up there and tell them, okay, this is a temporary grade of 1 that will be there until we have your reaction response to calculate a full grade for this discussion board. But then there's 2 elements. So the first element is 60%, and the second element is 40%. I don't know how else to do it. Does anybody else have any suggestions on that one? It works. but I'm always putting it in the announcements and in the welcome read this first, is that this is what you will see. And then there's invariably somebody isn't reading and they'll say, well, whoa, I got a 1. How come I got a 1 out of 100? And so then I write back and say, well, that's only a temporary grade, and that's there so that I know that you did your initial response. And then I will comment on their initial responses, so that and they will have a chance to, in all of the DBs, they can, I give them unlimited attempts so they can redo it, if they want to answer the comments and edit the work. But the only other way I use the VoiceThread is as an icebreaker. Then that's fine. Then that's fine, because now students are just explaining themselves, and I give them, or like 2 or 3 main points to follow or whatever, and so that they at least get to know one another, and as an actual person, not as just this asynchronous, gives it a little bit more humanity to it, I think. But again, does somebody else have any suggestions as to that? How do they handle the initial response, and then if you're saying that most people do 2 reaction responses, is what I'm hearing. Am I correct with that or not?
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that's
I
what I
don't
most.
know.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there
No.
a way to attach a rubric to this?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. No, just because I guess when the students reference then the rubric, or if you're grading through the rubric, they'll see exactly that they did not respond. If they only did the initial response and didn't respond to any of their classmates. But I guess a question for Jose is, can the VoiceThread, or either of you, I'm sorry, can the VoiceThread be attached to a rubric that's already embedded in Blackboard?
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Jose, do you want me to show her what we did?
Sure. You can show your screen, Patricia, or either way, whatever. If you want to, show what you have there.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. I hope I'm not off topic there, but just
No. This is perfect, because rubrics are actually a great way to speed up grading. But Patricia will show what she did in her course. But go ahead, Patricia.
Okay. Hold on. Let me just find it first. And
as Patricia's looking for the
okay,
example.
I'm just okay. I'm sorry. Yes. Go forward.
Sure. Yeah, if you can share your screen, Patricia, that'd be great.
Right. Maybe you can just go on and out until I find it, rather than waste your time here.
Oh, you want me? Okay, I can. You want me to go into your course and show?
I think I have it. Let's see. Okay. Does everybody see? I shouldn't be. Okay. I'm blocking out the student's name, or trying to. Do you see that?
No, we don't. We don't see your. I don't. I don't think you're sharing your screen.
Okay. Hold on. Let me go do it again. Are you seeing it now?
No.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Let me try again from scratch.
But I'm sorry, the rubric is created in Blackboard, though, not connected to VoiceThread.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
And now Pam, can you see it now?
There we go. Yes.
Yeah, but it's a Blackboard discussion.
Here's the rubric.
Yes.
And that's the one that I created. Yeah.
Right.
And
but this is a Blackboard discussion, not through the VoiceThread discussion, because that might be a con of the VoiceThread.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Would that be then a con?
What?
I guess that'd be a con of the VoiceThread lecture or discussion board at the end of the lecture, is that you can't connect it to the rubric in Blackboard.
Right. VoiceThread doesn't have a rubric integrated into the VoiceThread system. Right. You have to go in through your gradebook and then create the rubric that way. And then it does link it that way. So I hope that answers that. Was I? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Great.
I guess.
Sure. Sure. And the other thing I want to mention about VoiceThread is I think Patricia touched a little bit on it. Is it's what we call authentic assessments, which for Patricia's course is perfect because she teaches speech. A lot of the students are doing presentations and they're speaking, and so for her, VoiceThread it works great because then students can video record themselves or even do audio. I mean, depends what you're looking for, but with that type of authentic assessments, you give the student an opportunity to say, okay, here, this is your opportunity to show me that you know this material, not to say, I can't say they're not reading it from somewhere or they're looking at, but it's in the voice, it comes a little closer to what you normally do in face-to-face class. And as a teacher, I call these the superpowers that teachers always have, is the ability to look at a student in the classroom. You can tell by body language. You can tell by, are they distracted? Are they bored? And those skills that only teachers fine tune those skills that they can read a student's behavior and by body language. You kind of get that in the voice. You can kind of hear a little, what's going on with the student. And again, if you are teaching an online class, again, want to humanize the experience, and at least now they have a voice to your face or a voice to the student's face. So that's where VoiceThread kind of shines. The con, now let's go a little bit to the cons, because I know Pamela. VoiceThread has improved over the years. I know there were a lot of people that had used it early on, and they were, oh, this is so clunky, this is horrible, it's hard to use. It could be a little daunting for some who are new to the tool. They've improved over the years. Just recently, the latest upgrade allows you to copy the course over to a new course shell, and the voice threads carry over from the original class. And then there's a feature now that allows you to remove all the old comments in one shot, and just to keep either your comments or just to remove all comments. That's a huge, huge advantage that was very difficult in the past years to, as a professor, go in there and clean these up and have to remove all these students' recordings. That is no longer an issue. So in that way, I would say there's a pro to that and there's a con to it, because it's still a little bit difficult to use. So I would say if you're new to VoiceThread, just um, slowly transition into a new tool, and don't do it middle semester. Don't do this. Don't go with VoiceThread. Practice it, learn it, master it before you actually implement it. Whereas Blackboard Discussion, you can jump on it. You can start running on it like, there's no really learning curve, no steep learning curve. Whereas VoiceThread, now we're bringing up the level a little higher. So that's where I want to paint the picture as to, this is a higher level where Blackboard Discussion is entry level, and now we're moving up to a next tier, which will be VoiceThread. Anybody want to comment or make any questions before we move over to the next tool?
Well, you were just talking VoiceThread, so before we even move over, I just started attending the hour before was a VoiceThread for D2L, the Brightspace that we're going to be moving to, and it wasn't really practical because I didn't have anything to really practice from. I didn't have the shell. However, part of what he did say, which was nice, is that anything that we have worked through Blackboard that is on VoiceThread is will still be there when
Yes.
we go over to D2L, which I was very happy to hear that. So I didn't have to lose all of those, Yeah.
Yes, let me just reiterate that. That's a great point. Anyone in the room that's currently using VoiceThread or has in the past, don't worry. As we move over to Brightspace, like Patricia just mentioned, you're not going to lose any of those things. Actually, it'll be very much the same. I don't think much will change actually. Everything will be almost the same the way that you've been using VoiceThread. So don't be alarmed. I think George has a question. Go ahead, George. Oh, I think George, George, you raised your. Oh, here it is. Sorry, his mic is not working. George is saying, I just want to be clear that both VoiceThread and Padlet can be embedded in Blackboard. So yes, George, the answer is yes. All the tools that we're covering today, actually the 3 tools that we're covering today, are easily embedded into Blackboard, and will also be easily embedded. And you can easily embed all 3 into Brightspace. So the answer is yes to Blackboard and yes to Brightspace. And now that you mentioned Padlet,
we had that question about is VoiceThread and Padlet also can they be part of the Grade Center?
So yeah, so we're gonna. That's a great segue into Padlet. So this is where Padlet, the pros and cons with Padlet. So thank you for sharing that. So let me share the screen again, because now we're gonna move over to Padlet. So you know you have a lot of options. We covered Blackboard discussions. We did VoiceThread, much more different modalities, because in VoiceThread you can do text, audio, and video. And so now we're gonna move over to Padlet, and Padlet has many options. So we're moving up the ladder here. So just so everybody's clear, this will be a higher level. So now we're moving to Padlet. Let me share my screen so you can see. I'm going to share 3 examples in Padlet. And because Padlet has so many options, very versatile, I will show you the first one. This one is using. So first, let me just say that Padlet has, I think it's about 7 different types of templates, around 7 or so. I forget how many they used to have 8. I think now they have 7. Each template has its own character. They have what's called the grid, shelf template. Actually, let me show it to you, so it's probably easier just to show you. So this is what Padlet looks like. And first, just let me tell you, you can find Padlet right away, easily, right here on the top right corner on Blackboard. So if you've never used Padlet before, and you have no idea where Padlet is, it's right under your name when you log into Blackboard, and there's a link there. And you'll see the word, you'll see home, library, help, LinkedIn Learning, and then you'll see Padlet. And I want to show you the link because it's very important. If you use the free account, you're only going to be allowed to create 3 Padlets, I think, under the free account. But we at FIT are fortunate that the school's paying for it for us. And so you have unlimited number of Padlets you can use. This is the pro account. And so when you click on that link, it takes you to a dashboard, and this is the Padlet dashboard. I don't want to go too deep because we have workshops just on how to use Padlet, and we also have a lot of video tutorials. If you're interested, you can either come to a workshop on Padlet or just watch one of our videos. But this is where the dashboard is. And if I were to create a new Padlet, I just go here and click Make a Padlet. And this is what I was referring to, the templates. So as you can see, there's 7 different types of Padlets. Here we have a wall. And this is very much like a refrigerator door, where you have Post-it notes all over the refrigerator. I have my kid's dentist phone number, all the emergency numbers on the front of the refrigerator. This is what the wall will look like, right? These are your students posting on the fridge. Stream, it's like Twitter, and that's like Twitter in the sense that it's a streamline, right? It's one post at the top, there's a post right under that one, so it's a long, like a snake, right? Like a Twitter feed. This is what the stream looks like. This is what the stream will look like. Then you have what's called a grid, and the grid is very much like the wall. but it's a little bit more organized in the sense that it's 3 across and 3 down. And then you can arrange and move around. Like you can take those post-its that are on the refrigerator door and then move them around. You have the ability to move things around. And then you have what the shelf template is, and the shelf is the most popular one. And I'll give you an example of the shelf later because I think this is one of the most popular ones, and I think the best one for discussions. And it's basically a table, and you create columns, and you can create columns for each student, or you can create columns for if you were to scaffold an assignment. So step 1, step 2, step 3, and so forth. So shelf could be done, can be used for many different ways. Map is basically what it means. It's a map, and then you can tell your students in an icebreaker, well, pin on the map where you were born or where you come from, or maybe post jobs opportunities for, on the map, and you can pin them on the map so students can post. Well, if I want to become a an illustrator, where can I find positions on Illustrator? And so they could pin those job opportunities on the map. I mean, there's many ways that you can use this one. The next one is a canvas. This one is really cool and it's great for critical thinking if you want to have discussions on higher level thinking where students actually have to create a post and then associate or make a connection from their initial post to someone else's post. And so they're linking posts and it becomes like a spider web where everything is linking to each other. And I'll show you an example of that in a second. And the last one that we have is called the timeline. And the timeline basically just that, is a timeline, right? So students can, if you say, let's say, if you split up the class into teams and you're teaching them, let's say, art history, and you're covering, let's say, an artist, let's say Michelangelo, and then the team has to then post highlights of that person's career, and they have to do the research. And this becomes a timeline for the students, right? So they put their discussions posts right in these little bubbles, and they put the date, and they move from left to right as a timeline. So anyway, I wanted to briefly go through all. I know I went really quick, but these are the 7 different types of Padlets that you can create. And so let me give you some examples, because without examples, you know, the creativity, it's better to able to see a Padlet, because then you can actually visualize, and then maybe you can then have ideas will come up from there. So my first example of a Padlet is a debate. Now this here, I'm using the Canvas template. This is the one that allows you to move. As you can see, I can move anything around. And it also allows you to make connections, connect to a post, right? So I can say connect to this one. You see how now this one is connecting to this one. So this is the Canvas template. And the reason why I love this one for debate, let's say you want your students to debate each other. And so what I said to them, I came up with a prompt: should facial recognition be banned? So I can leave this open for the class to decide to go either to the red side, which is the con, or those who are against facial recognition, or those who are for facial recognition, and that could be on the green side. So if I change my mind, I can simply hop over to the green side. And the way that you can gamify this is you can say to the class, I want you to pick a side. Are you pro facial recognition or are you against facial recognition? Create a post by clicking on this pink plus sign here. And then here you're going to say, well, I am pro facial recognition. Now you can require them to either do it in, the response could be in text. So this is my response in text format. Or you can ask your students to record the video response, right? You can see here video recorder. So there you have text, then you have video, then you can choose audio. So we're covering all modalities here. It's similar to VoiceThread, text, audio, or video. And so therefore, you can have your requirements set in the instructions here. You can say to them, you can leave it open. You can do video, audio, or text, or you can say your response has to be in video. Then the why. Why are you pro facial recognition? Okay, well, Patricia mentioned earlier that she has her students cite works to their discussion prompts, right? Patricia, discussion, you have them cite.
Yes, yes.
So look at this. So then here, you can have them do a search, right? So they can go into here, back into the little 3 dots, and say, well, you know, let's see what I can find on facial recognition. This is now a Google search within within Padlet. Now the students are doing the research. Why is facial recognition bad? I don't know. I'm just. All right. So now I can start citing some articles here. You know, so you know I can do my research or directly from the Padlet. I can look up images that are regarding facial recognition, images, GIFs, videos on YouTube. And so now a case for banning facial recognition, New York Times. So if I want to use that to back up my argument, then I can just click on it. And then now if I'm going on the green side, I can make my post green, right? So now I'm color coding my post because I want to, even though I chose a background that already has the green and the red, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. You can have your students create their post and color code the posts. So now this is green and this is red. So let me switch over sides. I should have had this side and this side. And so in this game or this debate, you can tell your students you're trying to you have to post your argument, but in the same time you're trying to win over the students to your side, right? So you can make it in like a game where you have to, let's see which side gets the most people and how many people can you win over. And if you change someone's mind from the green side over to the red, you can double up the points because now you just changed someone's mind. Your argument was strong enough. So I mean, these are ways that you can kind of make it a little bit more fun. And so this is the Canvas tool in Padlet. Real quick, let me show you how you can upload your own image for the background. You can always go here, and I hear a question. I'll answer the question in 1 second. But I just want to show you that Padlet gives you background images. So you can simply go here to the wallpaper, and you can choose solid colors or pictures and things like that. But also you can import. So you can import an image. In this case, I wanted a red side and a green side. So I did a Google search. I said, well, Google, find me a debate where red and green. And so I came up with this, and I downloaded the image, and then I uploaded it to Padlet, and I placed the red and green image onto my Padlet. So that gave me, the ability for students to jump from left to right. All right. I hear a question. Let me turn it over to who's asking. Let me go back to the chat. Here it is. I don't see who was asking.
Pamela asked the question.
Oh, thank you, Patricia. Yes, I see it. Can you also remind us where we can find the prior Padlet instructional recording? Are they on this? Okay. Yes. Oh, thank you, Patricia. Yes, they're on the YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and I will send it to you, Pamela. I'll send you the link to our YouTube channel so that you can subscribe to it, and then you'll get all our wonderful videos.
Subscribed, but it's under your name, right? Jose Diaz.
No, no, it's actually under the fashion. So it would be fashion. I think it's online learning. Fashion is
Online learning.
FIT online learning. Yeah.
Alrighty.
So did anybody find that debate? You're welcome. Thanks for the question. um, so that's one way to use Padlet as a debate. If you want your students to go at each other and then make it into a game and see how many people you can win over to your side, you can even assign a person, or a team of people to be pro, and then the other side, let's say 5 of the students are pro and they got to win everybody over, and then the other side you have 5 people, and then now you have 20 students that have to decide, am I pro or am I against? So that's a way you can gamify your discussions. Any questions so far about this one right here, the debate? Okay, so I'm gonna move on. And one of the reasons why I said I have to do a workshop on discussions is because, as I know Patricia, Michael, Professor Coquinos, who led the video production workshop about, I think it was last year.
The Screencast-O-Matic. He was so
Yes,
darling.
yes, he did the
So
Screencast-O-Matic.
knowledgeable and yeah.
So Professor Coquino invited me over to his course, and I took the opportunity to ask the student questions. And a lot of the students were complaining about discussions, and they were saying, well, a lot of professors, all of them do the same thing. Well, they have you, go to Blackboard Discussions, and they'll have you post one initial reply by Wednesday, and then by Monday you had to have 2 replies or something like that. And they say it was, they were complaining that I can, a lot of the times I was just copying the answers from other students, and I found it that a lot of times the instructor wasn't joining in the conversation, wasn't part of the conversation. And so a lot of the students were becoming the teachers in those discussion forums, and they were just, well, this is what this is what that was. And so there was a lot of misinformation. So that's one of the takeaways that I had from that, like, that I called for that focus group that I had with students. And, so I think it's also very important for this professor there's a careful balance between too much and too little. And so you really have to read your students as to how much participation, how much you have to be involved in the discussions, not to be overwhelming and take it over, but also not to be out of the picture. So that's another consideration that you have to be mindful of, is how much involved are you going to be how much involved are you going to be in this discussion? Are you going to be all over it? It's just going to be you constantly replying to every student, or you're going to be very quiet, not be involved at all? So that's something you got to think about. I hear a question or hands up.
Joanne.
Oh, Joanne. I think you might have to unmute yourself, Joanne. No? Okay, I'm gonna move on, but Joanne, if you're able. Oh, okay. So everything's okay. All right, real quick, I just want to cover these last 2 examples, and then we'll stop there, and then I'll hand out a quick survey, because now we're doing surveys for the workshops. This yeah, I know. This one is the most popular one in Padlet. This is a shelf template, and in this shelf template, I asked the students, what do you think are the beliefs and values that define American culture? And so this is a shelf template, and The shelf template, when you're first building it, takes a little bit of time, but once you've added every student to the Padlet, you can always make a copy of it and clone it so that you don't have to type in all the names all over again. It becomes like a cookie cutter. But if you need help with this, I'll be happy to show you how to do it, and I'd be happy to build one together with you if you're interested in this one. But what I love about this and what faculty tell me that they love, why they love this so much, is because in one shot you can see everybody. You'll see Mary, you see Tom, you see Greg, and you see Joanne, all in one shot. And then you can see that, well, Mary didn't do her, Mary didn't do the discussion. Well, Tom did, Greg did it, but Mary didn't do it. So you know who did it, who didn't do the work. Also, there's a little bit of a pressure for the students because this person did it, where's mine? You know, and so there's a little bit of ownership that a little bit of pressure on them that everyone's doing it. Where where's mine? I haven't done mine. We also talked about moderating in the beginning. I think Patricia mentioned it, right? So you can do the same thing here in Padlet, where if you don't want the students to look at each other's posts and copy, you can go here to the settings and then select here at the bottom, require approval, right here. Oops. And what that does is that students will not be able to see each other's posts until if you turn this on, once you allow students, once you turn it back off, then everyone can see their posts. And so now, so you control the floodgates of when all these posts become public to the rest of the class. So that's similar to VoiceThread and similar to Blackboard Discussions. So all three will give you that moderator feature to have them post before they can read everyone else's posts. The other pro to Padlet is that it promotes social learning, right? So if Mary posts her design or her picture of her garment, students can learn from each other. So that's another great way. And Padlet is perfect for visuals. It's a great visual tool. It's almost like Pinterest on steroids for education. If you use Pinterest, right? If you use Pinterest, you know that Pinterest is perfect for visuals. So if you have a very visual course and you want students to put in pictures, videos, anything you throw at it, when the student clicks on the plus sign and they click on here, the three little dots, they can upload images, they can record audio, they can do drawings, they can put links, they can put video, YouTubes, they can put music from Spotify, they can search images, they can go meta, embed a Padlet inside another Padlet. They can record the screen, they can record video. Take a picture, a selfie. So if you're doing icebreakers, they could do selfies. If you want them to do a video response, they could do video. If you want them to post where they are, let's say this is a student in Asia, and you want them to tell you where they are, the geographic location, GPS, it will do it too. Or you could do a research-based, right, web search through Google. So anyway, let me move on because the last example, I'm running out of time. The last example that I want to show you is, where is it? The stream. We talked about the stream, right? So here I'm prompting the students. Oh, by the way, these are my video instructions. So if sometimes instructions don't go well, students don't like to read, or they have trouble reading, or I don't know, they don't get the instructions. Sometimes it's better to see you and hear you tell or talk to them the instructions. So you can also put the first video as your instruction video and say, well, this is what I'm looking from you. I'm looking from you. I want you to tell me, this is the discussion prompt. Should celebrities weigh in on politics? Right, so that's the discussion prompt. And that's just me on video reiterating the discussion prompt to them and asking them to do, it could be a team post. If you're pro, you could be in red. If you're against the celebrities being involved, being vocal in politics, maybe change it to red, or if you're pro, it could be green. And so maybe you might split up the class into two teams, those who are pro, those who are against, and then you might have one person from each team take turns. They take jabs, like a boxing match, right? So this could be a boxing match, and then one team goes first, the next team goes after, and it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until everyone has a say. And that's another fun way to do discussions. It could be a boxing match. Okay, I think I used up all my time. So I'm going to stop there. And then if anybody has any questions or comments, we'll leave the last 10 minutes or 8 minutes just to talk about what we just went through. I know it was very quick. It was like a tornado. But I just want you to know that we're here. Patricia also is another professor that you can, ask for help or questions. And then if you want to buddy up with somebody and who has done this, like a professor, Patricia, or other professors, I can point you to the right person. Or if you want to work with me, I'll be happy to help you build discussions with any of these types of tools. So I'll stop there and I'll open it up for discussions for anyone to, comment or share ideas or concerns. Yes, Roberta?
I've tried Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I've tried Padlet in the past, and I have difficulty with it because I didn't do it in a discussion. I did it in a project, but everybody's narrow little strip got so incredibly long that I'm thinking that was for like term projects. But now I'm thinking for discussions, it might be a better use for it. But even then, what do you do about the imbalance? If one student wants to write an essay, 4 long, wonderful paragraphs, and another student just writes one essay, I think it's good that they see the length of each other's and kind of it puts pressure on them. But is there any way to kind of manage that well?
Yes, that's a great question, Roberta. There's several ways you can do it. Going back to your first example as an assignment, for that assignment, normally you go a higher level, which is the on your own Padlet, individual Padlet, right? Because if it's a big project, it becomes overwhelming. As you saw, these columns are just, for one person can be overwhelming if they're putting a lot of information in there. So for that, I would have gone with an individual Padlet where the student clicks on the assignment, the Padlet clones itself and assigns itself to the particular student, for every individual student. It does it for you. You don't even have to do anything. And then they can work on their own. They have the whole space, the whole Padlet. That gives them more space. So that's the answer to the first problem. The second, what I've seen faculty do is, a lot of the students now are using Google Docs. And so they'll do a big essay, let's say a 500 or a 10-page paper. And Patricia has done this, where the students actually write a paper, and then they'll link the paper through either Google Docs or wherever it's saved. And that could be on a Padlet. And that can also be done in Blackboard Discussions. I think, Patricia, you used it in Blackboard Discussions, I think, where students can actually put the link to the paper. With Padlet, it opens up natively in the Padlet. In Blackboard Discussion, it opens a new tab to Google Docs. So that's a difference there. So that's something you might want to consider. If you want it to be open right then and there, everyone can read it, Padlet will be a better visual representation for that. So that would be the better way to do it. And the shelf template is more for either for scaffolding an assignment, and that will work great for an assignment, Roberta. You can say, okay, step 1, I want you to give me the sales for March. Second step, now I want you to give me the which which stores is it on Macy's? Are we looking at whatever, Old Navy, whatever? Is it in front of the store, in the back of the store? Step 3, what is the branding? What's the step 4? What's the packaging? So that's more of a, that could be the shelf template for more. But then you could do it as an individual Padlet because that's a big project.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Sure, and I'll be happy to help you if you need help building it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'm just going to post the link to the survey. I'm supposed to do these now, so I'm sorry. I got to put these links to these surveys.
Can I just before you
Sure,
go to the survey, can I just I'm stuck on the fact that it's just Blackboard, right? Blackboard discussion that'll link to the Blackboard gradebook, though. Otherwise, if you're going to do VoiceThread or Padlet, okay. I just want to make sure that.
Thank you, Pamela, for bringing that back, because I did forget to mention that here's the con. Here's a con for Padlet. It's that when you start the grading process, you do the grading process separately from Padlet. You're going to have to go straight to the gradebook. That's the biggest con with Padlet, right? Because now you're looking at these students' work. Now you have to jump into the gradebook, create a column. Well, you don't have to create a column. If you do enable evaluation, it'll create the column for you in the gradebook, and then you manually enter those grades. I've been talking to the folks at Padlet on this for a long time. I've been sending them emails, please, 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 please do this for us, because it's annoying that it's not integrated into, it doesn't push the grades into the gradebook. They're telling me they might have it soon, but we'll see what happens. But that's the biggest con for Padlet. But VoiceThread has it though.
Same for VoiceThread also.
VoiceThread, no, VoiceThread.
Oh, it does connect to the gradebook.
Yes. So the two tools that we covered today that do connect to the gradebook is Blackboard Discussions and VoiceThread. Those two, you can enter the grade right in the tool where you are actually watching the discussions as they happen. You can go in there and put in the grade, and the grade will get pushed directly into the gradebook. You don't have to do anything after that. Once you enter the grade in VoiceThread or Blackboard Discussion, it will show up in the gradebook. Got it? Awesome. Thank you again for asking, because I knew I was missing something. and Padlet, we don't have it yet.
I'm obsessed with the gradebook.
You're obsessed with, I'm sorry, with? Oh,
sorry, I was obsessed with the gradebook connections. Just to make sure.
No, it's very important. And to your point before, you said with the rubric, it's another. I mean, if you are going to use rubrics, I can tell you it will speed up the grading. Not only will it speed up the grading for you as a professor, students love it, and Patricia knows it very well, because then the students cannot challenge you because it's all right there for them. They can say, well, I didn't get points for this, but hey, go back to it's right there on the rubric. It tells you why you got that point, you know. So anyway, all right, so we're right at the 3 o'clock mark. If anyone has questions or want to stay behind, I'm happy to stay a little longer, but I'll stop here because I want to be considerate of everybody else's time. And I'm just I'll put the link in here real quick. If you guys have time, please, you don't have to do it right away, but if you can, do the survey, because now I'm supposed to start reporting these. Let me put it in there real quick for you all. Okay, where's the link? Here's the link. Copy. And I will post it into the chat. And I will also email the link, so don't worry about it. You don't have to do it now. I will send a follow-up email with the link to the recording and a link to some resources on discussions and the link to the survey, so that you will have everything in one shot. I don't want to force anyone to do things right now, but if you want, you can do it right now. It's there. But I'll stop there. Let me stop the recording,